Welcome to the Daughter Podcast, where dads come to talk, grow, and thrive. I'm your host, Oscar, and this is a space for men who are committed to becoming stronger, more mindful, and more present, especially in the lives of their daughters. Today's episode is a collaboration. My guests and I swap seats and interview each other about how men can show up stronger, more mindful, and more present for their families. My collaborator today is Tim Wienecke, a licensed psychotherapist, Air Force veteran, and the host of the American Masculinity podcast. His work focuses on practical, grounded tools for men across masculinity, mental health, trauma, fatherhood, leadership, and growth. No yelling, no cliches. Tim also leads Empowered Change Counseling and Education in Denver, a practice serving men, veteran, and first responders who want connected and purposeful lives. In this two-way conversation, we'll get tactical, presence over perfection, modeling emotional control without losing strength, and building the kind of daily habits our daughters can trust and emulate. Dads, this one's for you.
Hey man, thanks for doing this as a guinea pig with me. I love how we were trying to figure out who's going to introduce who, but we're both going to do a cold intro anyway.
Yep, that sounds good.
So I figure we can just let people hear a little bit of the sausage being made.
Yep.
So I was really excited when we found each other in Pod Match, and we're talking about this because I always like balancing out clinical resources with practical resources. Okay. And so I was really pumped to meet you, hear about what you're doing with your podcast, hear about what you're doing with your family, and hear how well everything's been going. So this should be a really good time, like we were talking about. Yeah. And I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, I am definitely not the clinical resource, I'll tell you that. I'm the knuckle dragger resource you bring in to show you what's gone awry and how we fixed it, kind of thing.
Well, I think that's the beauty of it, right? Like during my divorce, right? I counsel guys on how to keep their marriages, right? Those who can't do, teach. So it's nice having somebody do to back up the teaching.
Yeah, there you go. There's a company extremely dedicated to restoring the dignity of hard work and the relentless pursuit of greatness. That company is Fuel Hunt, and I am honored and humbled to have them as our sponsor. They have built a community that is all about choosing discipline over comfort and taking pride in the journey because comfort is a slow death. Their clothing isn't just apparel or fight gear, it is our uniform. 100% American made, Fuel Hunt clothing is a daily reminder for me and those around me that I am committed to being among the few who truly hunt for their goals. Join the movement today and wear your ambitions proudly. Everybody wants to eat, but only a few will hunt. Follow the link in the show notes and use GrillDad at checkout for 10% off your purchase.
Well, so I guess we can jump in a little bit. I think the easiest one to start with would be, what are 3 things that you want every father to know about raising daughters after all this time and all these conversations?
Going through some of the episodes that I've done, when I saw your question, I was like, let me see where my brain was at, when we first started to midpoint to now. And it all leads to, and makes me very happy because it's part of essentially what you would call the mantra of the show, right? Where we are trying to create a community of men who want to be stronger, more mindful, more present in their daughters' lives and in the lives of their families. Well, as I started to listen, presence just became what I'm here for. And I say that because I think I knew it. I mean, I know I knew some of it starting the podcast, which is why we went forward and started the podcast. But now, having been doing this a little over a year, it's evident to me how not present I've been in my daughter's lives, particularly my oldest. And so if I had to say 3 things, I'm legitimately telling you, you need to figure out how to be strong. And yes, there's a physical aspect to this, but emotional strength, and then also like psychological strength. How are we dealing with problems of our own, and how are our children, our girls, watching us deal with those problems? And then the emotional side of keeping your cool when you realize that your kids are mirrors and they're just showing you your flaws, which is insane. So that when we say strong, like, we want you to be physically strong because that's important, but there's all these other strengths that we need to build on to be better. The mindfulness comes in with that, right? Because my kids have constantly called me out on things that I just say. Like there's no filter. And
Mm.
Tim, like you and I were talking before, when we had our conversation, we're both military. Like there's a way that sometimes we just kind of talk and we say things and it doesn't necessarily translate well to the environment of raising my daughters. And they're
No.
quick to call me on it. So being mindful of the perception of their eyes to me. How am I being perceived to my daughters? And then not just with them. How do they perceive my relationship with my wife? How do they perceive my relationship with a stranger when I go eat at a restaurant, go to a coffee shop? Like they're watching all this. So the perception is important. So I need to be mindful of all those things. And then finally, presence. Figuring out what presence means to your kid, to your daughter. Looking back, many times I'll say, look at my girls, they're three different heights, right? Like if you were to put their silhouettes are, here, here, and here. And then if you were to have that silhouette, which is black, start filling it in with the presence that I have given them,
Mm-hmm.
my oldest daughter would have the same, if not less than my middle daughter, and then my middle daughter would have more. So essentially, that presence would actually be opposite. From the little one, it would be up here. From the middle one, it'd be up here, and for my oldest, it'd be down here. Hey, if you enjoy the Daughter Podcast, you'll love what we've got waiting for you at daughterpodcast.com. As soon as you visit, you'll be prompted to join our new email newsletter, a resource packed with valuable insights, practical tips, and powerful perspectives straight from our podcast episodes and incredible guests. Don't miss out on the chance to join the community and strengthen your journey as a father. Visit daughterpodcast.com today and subscribe, because great dads never stop growing. It'd be like
Well, I mean, that's kind of impossible not to have happen. I mean, in your early career, how many times did you deploy?
a lot of times. But here's
Yeah.
here's the issue. It's quality versus quantity, right?
Mm.
And I found again through this learning process, I found that with my youngest daughter, the quality wasn't there. And it was, I'm trying to learn how to be a new dad. I'm trying to relearn
Mm-hmm.
my marriage, really, because my wife and I were married for 8.5 years before we had children. So it was just her
Mm.
and I.
Yeah, and that's a huge shift.
It is huge. And it was something that I probably didn't consider well at the time. It was an extreme shift for her, right? She just created a human, changed her entire life. We decided when she got pregnant that we wanted to not have our kids in daycare, so she decided she would stay home because obviously I'm in the military, right? We don't have that flexibility, if you will. So she went from working all the time and doing things that she was doing to not. So I mean, her life completely changed, and I'm sure I didn't consider all of those things in that moment. And then to add on to that, the frustration of not knowing how to deal with this little thing that cries and asks you for things, but they can't talk and you can't understand them. And then logic, brother, logic doesn't play a hand,
Gone.
right? Because
No.
I'm like, I would tell my wife this, physically would say it probably once a day. She's fed, she's changed, she's slept. Why is she crying? Like the logic doesn't make sense to me, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I could tell you in those early stages, my presence was not there. Even when I was home, my brain was like, how do I escape this? Because I don't know how to do this, and I'm a fixer. How do I fix this? You can't. You got to learn it, and that's something
Mm-hmm.
that I've now learned to do. Before it was not there.
Well, that's what I see a lot with my military dads is
Mm,
the military teaches you how to be a mentor and a fixer. You know, the military makes leaders,
right.
right? And it's great, and it should, and it's wonderful. But so many guys think that they can take that skill set and just plug and play it into parenting. And you can't.
You can't.
It's not the
No.
same because there's not a shared mission. In the military, the reason why mentorship works so cleanly and so well is everybody's contributing to the same goal.
Hmm.
And in a family, that 2-year-old's goal is to get its immediate need met from you, however it can. They're not on the same mission as you.
No, they are not. And I had an interview one time where we were talking about how, especially your first child, really showed you, or at least highlighted, how selfish you are, in the sense of like,
Mm,
I like my things in a certain way, right? Like I like my day to
mhm,
go a certain way. I like my dinner to go a certain way. I like, so you have all these likes that you've gotten accustomed to. Your person, and again, if I add on the marriage, it was just her and I. So we were accustomed certain to a certain way of living, and all of a sudden this little thing comes in and wrecks all that, and you realize like I really liked this other stuff, right? And that's part of, and I'm sure you can, tell me way more about this than me, but that's part of the maturation process. Like you're going to mature through that if you allow yourself to do that. It's
mhm,
unfortunate when we see parents, and I speak for the dads, like, and I have acquaintances that I've seen this with where they don't. It feels like they don't mature out of that. Like they still want
mm,
to go party with their buddies. They still want to go do this thing. They still want to do. There's nothing wrong with that, except now you have this child you're in charge of. You're their everything. And I see that sometimes where it's like, dude, you're in your 40s. You've got 3 children, and you're still trying to drink like you were in your 20s. Like, how do you? Why? Right? I want to say it's not a judgment, but it's definitely something clear to me that I started to see as I grew as a father. But
mhm.
early on, it was not like that. I think it bothered me that I now didn't have those things I like to do the way I like to do them.
Yeah, I think it's the instinct that we have to stay the same.
Yeah.
Like there's a comfort in knowing what I want in my life and what happens next. And the unfortunate part is it's a story. Whether you have kids or not,
Yeah.
ideally you want different things at 20, at 25, at 30, at 35 and 45,
Right.
right? You should be moving along in life. But we get stuck on this idea of when I was 20, I did these things, I was happy. I
Yeah.
want to go back to that. So I'm going to do these things. But I can tell you at 45, if I drank like I did when I was 25, I think I'd die. I think I'd die. It's not, it's not good.
I think the most I drink now is coffee. It's literally that's it.
I can manage one with friends. After that, it's not worth
Too
it
much.
anymore, which is really unfortunate. But so the presence thing, I think is probably the thing that lines up the best. Like one of the questions you sent was, what are kind of the harmful patterns
Yeah.
that I see the most of? And I think the biggest one is just the societal shift that dads have had to go through,
Mm.
right? I think for the last 100 years, we've done parenting badly.
Okay.
At no point in human history have we been in a spot where one or two people was responsible for everything a child needed. We're supposed to be running around in groups of 20 people doing all the different things we're doing.
I see.
And the kids are just around for
All
it.
right.
Now, the 50s happen and we're like, hey, we've replaced all this labor with all these machines. One person should be able to do everything a kid needs, which is nonsense.
Yeah.
Housewives are the most like talk to base wives, man. Housewives are some of the most miserable people on the planet because it's too much.
Yeah.
And then we said, oh, well, since they're doing that, we're going to take dad out of the equation and turn dad into a provider. So as long as dad is getting the resources the family needs, that's all he has to do. And because we've been doing that for generations now, guys our age who are trying to show back up into dad have no idea what we're doing.
Mm.
We've lost kind of a generational memory. Like, I don't know about you, man, but my dad and my grandfather were not around,
Right.
right? And they were good men. They were good dads. My grandfather was a good grandfather,
Mm.
but they were men of their time. They were working.
Right.
And my grandfather in particular didn't know what to do with children. He was like, you should be quiet when I talk.
Right. There was this expectation.
And so a lot of it is helping guys, one, normalize that they're relearning to do something that we've forgotten how to do, and which means there's going to be mistakes along the way, that there's no perfection in parenting, that, go easy on yourself. Are you trying or are you showing up? All right, every day, try to show up a little better. That's all we can do. And then two, helping them communicate with their spouses about what's happening so that everybody can do it better and see it better.
Right.
Because the other frustration I get from guys is anytime they start making some mistakes, right? They're like, but I'm so much better than my dad. I've never touched my kids.
Right.
Like, I've never spanked them. I've never yelled at my kid,
Right.
and I'm not enough still. And the reality is with just two people, you're never going to be enough.
if I look backwards from what you're talking, I don't know that we did it wrong. I just think that they did it the way they knew how to do it. And I say that because it's so weird to talk about, for example, masculinity. Because if you talk
Hmm.
about it in the terms that you're saying, back in, in the context that we're talking about, to now, the context now, trying to bring that context in this way, it instantly goes to toxic masculinity. Instantly.
Ken, yeah.
Right? I mean, the first thought of like, oh, the 1950s and 1940s. No, 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 that's not good. Well, I mean, let's face it, the 1940s, those dudes went to war and
A
most
lot of
likely
them.
we're not coming back. So,
A lot of them.
right? But I'm talking about, you keep, you then you start keeping, excuse me, you keep going forward, and we go into the value of what you're talking about. We value masculinity, but we want like both sides of the scale, right?
Hmm.
We want that masculine dude to just kind of do his thing, and whether we appreciate it or not, that's just your job. It is what you do. It's a masculine
Hmm.
trait, right? But then on the other side, we when I say we as far as the society is now asking
Hmm.
for way other things, and oh by the way, telling little boys now as they're growing up, you can't be masculine. That's not a good thing,
Yeah.
right? So how do you start to figure that out? I think we're starting to see that dichotomy start breaking now because of that.
I, the big push that we're making with the podcast on it is the idea that there's masculine and feminine traits, and all of us have some of each.
Right.
If you're a guy, you probably have more of the masculine traits,
Yeah.
but you don't have all of them in most cases. What I think is going on is we figured out how to make a system work, right?
Right.
And I also think it's important to recognize that the fathers of the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s were good men
Yeah.
doing parenting the way they thought they should,
Right.
right? This isn't like they were evil for what was happening. These were the commonly accepted wisdoms of the time.
Right.
But because it was such a narrow definition of what a parent had to be, like a mother has to be a homemaker, a father has to be a provider, instead of a family needs to function, which means someone needs to be providing, someone needs to be making a home. And if you look at most modern marriages now, both people are doing it,
Right.
right? Dad's showing up and changing diapers, mom's doing her work, dad goes off to a business conference, mom's got it, somebody comes in and helps out, hopefully.
Right.
And essentially, we're leaving more and more room for people to be their complete selves.
Mm.
Because the other thing that I teach guys around parenting is your kids aren't going to learn from what you tell them. They're going to learn from what you show
Yeah.
them.
Absolutely.
Right? You can tell them your values all day long, but if they don't see you living them, if they don't see you showing up with that presence you were talking about,
Right.
they're not going to see you, and they're not going to be part of that.
Right.
And so you have to be there for it. And it was interesting hearing you talk earlier about the quality time versus a lot of time. I kind of disagree, man. Like I like how Scott Galloway puts it. He's like, my best parenting moments are in the garbage time. The
Mm.
drives to the school, the going to the soccer game, the when there's nothing planned and I'm just in the car with my kid.
Yeah.
And what I notice is whenever I hear guys talk about their dads, all of their kind of keystone memories where it was just them and their dad was in the car.
Right.
It was on the way to something. And I think it's because we live too fast. And I also think we do a really bad job of overburdening children, where like every minute of their life has to be planned for some kind of activity where they're going to be on the way to something to be on the way to the next thing, as opposed to just, every now and then kids should just be in a field with some other kids
Right.
figuring out how to throw
Right.
rocks
Right.
like they're kids.
Well, I think that's what I mean by quality. Like you're absolutely right, dude. I mean, I'm working anywhere from 8 to 15 hours a day, right? And
Hmm.
if I'm lucky, I'll get home. Luckily, we do have family dinner every night. For the most part, we are able to sit down, and it's really a short dinner, right? I mean, once you make dinner, that takes time, and then once you sit down, it's maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Yeah, but 30 minutes every day, it's important.
It is, and I think the quality of that is important, and I think that it's very easy to get distracted now.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
easy. Not that it didn't have distractions before, but I mean, literally, we have one in our pocket or in our hand. We have it's just a lot of distraction, and being able to put that away for a minute and just say, well, I only have 20 minutes with you today, but let's do those 20 minutes right. It could be that 20-minute to the drive to the whatever sport thing, right? But it's interesting the way that my daughters and I do it. My middle girl, she does gymnastics, and it's like 40 minutes from here. It's ridiculous. Like I would try to justify it, but I don't even know how. So, but it's 40 minutes from here. So
Okay.
we'll drive, and it's kind of cool because I can't be on my phone. I'm driving, right?
Mm-hmm.
She likes music, so she'll ask me like first thing she'll be like, "Can you put a song on?" All right, cool, song. Everything's chill. Song goes away, and all of a sudden she starts chatting, and now I'm listening, and I'm asking her questions, and then it'll just stop chatting, and then she'll ask me for another song. I'm like, okay, yeah, another
Mm-hmm.
song. But that little bit,
It kind of ebbs and flows in and out,
right? But
like a
I'm
natural cadence of conversation, which
and
is
I'm
lovely.
there, and she sees me there,
Yeah.
whether she wants to talk to me or just listen to music with me, and we find
Mm-hmm.
this weird, cool like time together. And I think part of it is I'm not distracted with my phone. Yes, I'm watching the road and that kind of thing, but I have her with me. So that's what I'm talking about. I used to get annoyed going to the store. Hey, I'm gonna go to the store. I gotta grab
Mm-hmm.
whatever, two three things, milk, eggs, you name it. And my daughter would be like, "Can I come with you?" I'm like, "No, I want to run in, grab it, and want to run out." Right? Like I don't go shopping. I go buy stuff. Like that's the way I work.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one day my wife was like, "Dude, she just wants to go hang out with you." And it just clicked. I'm like, of course she does. Like, why would I say no to that? That's the easiest thing to do. And sure enough, we'll have a 10-minute drive over to the grocery store, and then we'll have some laughs in the grocery store, and we'll come back, and it turns out to be 20, 30 minutes of nonsense, but it's undistracted, and it's just for us.
Okay.
And that's what I'm talking about with quality. I mean, trust me, man. If I can get the quantity and the quality, absolutely, right? But beggars can't be choosers. So if I can get the quality, then I'll take that, right? And that's where we as fathers need to check ourselves, because very easily I can not give quality. I've got work on my mind. I've got my next, work trip, thinking about this, thinking about that, and it's hard sometimes to quiet those things and actually be here, like be present.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky that my wife every so often will tap me in the back of the head and like, "Hey, where are you? Like, be here." Right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's awesome because that little bit of just kind of a light that she gives me brings me right back. And so that's the quality that I want to give my
Yeah.
daughters.
Well, and I love that she's able to make those corrections with you.
Yeah.
The other thing that I see that's important is there's this. We're moving away from it. You don't hear about it as much anymore. But
Mm.
for so long, it was whenever you'd see a dad out with his kids and his daughters, be like, "Oh, how'd you get stuck babysitting?"
Right. Yeah.
It's his. It's that's his kids. Shut the.
Yeah.
Like that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard anybody say to a parent.
Yep.
Right?
Right. But we participate in it sometimes.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah,
dad
because
will
it
be
feels
like,
good.
"Yeah,
Like
I'm
yeah, I'm a good
babysitting
guy,
today."
right? I'm a good guy,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. I'll get some brownie points. But you're absolutely right. And I'll be dead honest with you. I was one of those guys. I never thought of myself babysitting, but when we had the conversation with another dude, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm babysitting this week." Hey, if you enjoy the Daughter Podcast, you'll love what we've got waiting for you at daughterpodcast.com. As soon as you visit, you'll be prompted to join our new email newsletter, a resource packed with valuable insights, practical tips, and powerful perspectives straight from our podcast episodes and incredible guests. Don't miss out on the chance to join the community and strengthen your journey as a father. Visit daughterpodcast.com today and subscribe, because great dads never stop growing. And I can't tell you when it shifted, but it was a while ago, luckily. But it absolutely shifted. I'm like, these are my kids. Like, worst case scenario, if my wife left or disappeared or, God forbid, died, I'm not babysitting. They're my children. Like, I have to figure this
Yeah.
out. And it clicked for me in a weird way, because that mindset has always been in my mind, and especially with my girls, like, hey, I don't help your mother with the household chores. I
Like
just
we keep a house
That's
together.
right. Like, we're both here. We both have to keep it clean. We both have to, like, we're working as a team. And so the girls are just like that. Like, I don't say, hey, go help your mother. I say, hey, go do something. Go do this.
Yeah.
Go do that. Right.
Yeah.
If it needs to be
Yeah.
done, it
No, I
needs to
think
be
that's
done.
brilliant. I think that's brilliant. It's interesting. So many millennial parents, right? They were like, I'm right on the cusp, right? I was like a 79, so I think I'm technically an expert, but I feel like I cross both of those
All
boundaries
right.
pretty well. And millennials were so ignored and so expected to be kind of on their own by their Xer and Boomer
Mm-hmm.
parents that they're over involved and overdue for their kids, right? Everything is about making their kid happy. But in doing so, they forget that how happiness is acquired is by participation. And so all the parents that I like, mostly my friends, my clients, I can be a little bit more direct about it with, but you can't critique your friend's parenting. It tends to go pretty badly,
How
right?
dare
No one
you?
wants that. Especially being a guy without kids,
Yeah.
right? I do parent coaching, but being a guy without kids,
Right.
no one wants my opinion out in the world, which is
Right.
fine. But by all the studies, the happiest kids are the ones that do chores.
Right.
And I don't mean like turning them into Cinderella, right? Like I don't mean
Yeah.
like your kid should be doing everything in the house for you, but they feel like it's their home when they contribute to the
Right.
home.
There's an onus to what they're doing. Yep.
Yeah. And so what I kind of try to push guys towards is being partnered with their spouse around what keeping the home looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as their kids are able to do something to contribute to that, to set that expectation.
Right. This is really interesting that you said that, and I'm not. I'm gonna make an assumption that I hope you can correct me on here.
Mm-hmm.
You said you're a parent coach, but you don't have kids, so you don't want. So people don't want your opinion on that.
Yeah.
It's extremely interesting because you may be working with the parent, but that parent needs to work on themselves, and it sounds so weird,
Every time.
right? Because
Yeah.
you're like, no, it's for my kids. It's for my kids. Sure, it is. But the thing I learned when I started figuring out that, like, kind of where I'm screwed up and started to figure those things out, my parenting got better, my marriage got better, like all these different things got better because I started working on those things because those things are the ones that poke at that relationship that we have. That's where before the podcast came on board, that's what it was. It was all of a sudden I realized I'm like, my kid is not she's not doing things to me. She's an infant, right? Like
She's being a kid.
she didn't even choose to be here. Like what am I expecting from an infant? And as soon as I could not tell you when that flipped, but as soon as it did, I'm like, it felt like my brain exploded because I'm like, oh wow, if I'm getting mad at her for doing something, that's usually me. You working with parents and making them better is helping them. And that question that you're saying, well, tell me how your 10-year-old runs your life, dude. I see it all the time, and I'm not in the clinical setting. Like I see some parents, I'm like, dude, if you just stop letting that kid run whatever you want them to do, like you could fix that, right? You can bring them into the fold and do this thing. Let them be bored. Let them not be happy. Like it's fine, right? And
Well, and it's not just fine, it's
it
necessary.
is. And my wife and
Like you
I
have to
think
learn how to be bored in life.
I think my wife and I kind of butted heads for a little bit about that early on. And then we had this conversation. I was like, it is not our jobs to make her happy. That's not our job. Our job is to give her the ability to figure out how to make herself happy. That's it. Like I can't make. I mean, you probably know better than anybody. You can't make anybody happy through your practice. There's literally no possible way. You can give them
Yeah.
tools and coach them through it, but it's the whole saying like you can lead a horse to water, and then if you try to make him drink, you're gonna drown it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And that's how we've seen with the girls as soon as we kind of let off a little bit on that aspect of like we gotta do these things to make them happy. Like look how happy they are. Like oh that's great. You know what? I can give my 5-year-old a box and play with her with that box, and she'll be
And she's
happy as a
great.
clam, right? Because
Yep.
that's not our job. Yeah, it's just been very enlightening to be able to do that and to tell my wife that like hey let's just work on giving them the tools and the ability to do things that give them confidence that ultimately give them that happiness they're looking for. That's all we're doing here, right? And
Yeah.
oh by the way, we're gonna make good humans because there's plenty of just crappy ones right now. Like, let's make them respectful and with a service mindset, and I think we'll be all right.
There's a few factors that really make this hard on folks,
Mm,
right? So one, we are more overburdened in nuclear families than we've ever been before.
okay.
And the things you're talking about take patience
Oh yeah.
and time. And when you're talking about, oh, this couple needs to both be working 40-hour-a-week jobs, there's nobody else for the kids. Maybe the kids get some daycare, maybe the kids get in school, but we're all just doing the best we can and no one's sleeping. That's hard. It's hard to like sit with a kid as they're dysregulated trying to figure out what to do with themselves instead of just handing them something to do. Right? That's hard. So that's one. Two, that how to provide for your family and how to create the opportunities for them gets tricky because we watch as different people from different economic levels do that. Right? So if you're super wealthy and you've got an au pair, a nanny,
Yeah.
and your vacations are like taken off for 3 weeks to go be somewhere where the kid can be bored but also engage on the beach, that's great.
Right.
But most families have like a 4-day weekend at the beach with their kids. If they're lucky,
If we're
if they're
lucky.
very lucky, right? And all of a sudden they're just trying to squeeze like, no, I want to get every drop of memory out of this moment that we
Right.
can. And that gets hard too. The What's been a lot of fun is a client actually did this, and now I've recommended it to every client with money that they can. So everybody with white collar work and in the military, we're away from family, right? Like for white collar jobs, the expectation now is that you move away from home.
Okay.
So your family might be in Baltimore, but now you're off in LA. That means that we've lost cousins,
Right.
right? We've lost the aunties, we've lost the uncles. Like we've got these nuclear families spread out to the winds.
Right.
And so one of the best things I've seen people do now is they do a vacation at a beach house, except it's this, or a lake house or whatever, it doesn't matter, but it's the same place every year in the summer.
Right.
And the cousins come for a week.
Right. Right.
And if a family can prioritize that and they do it in the same place, those memories lock in for those kids.
Interesting.
Right? So as kids, we don't remember like, oh, summer of 82. Like that's not what I remember. I remember, oh, when I was young, I would play with my cousin.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And that might be an amalgam of like 3 different trips.
Right. Yeah.
If it's at the same place, but it works out really well. I think life has gotten so complicated. Doing the simple thing gets really hard, but the simple thing is the biggest requirement of being a parent.
That's a great point, and I want to make sure to be fair too. Like it is patience, and as I mentioned earlier, we've been blessed and fortunate to have my wife here with the girls at home. So it's makes it harder. Yes, it's a one income household, but gosh, dude, it's a 100% a patience game. And just recently, my wife took a trip, which she very rarely does. She took a trip over to see some family, and
Nice.
it was just here, me and the girls. And I was like, day 3, I'm like, how do you do this? This is ridiculous. The driving here, the driving there, the dealing with emotions, the like, all the things, right? And I'm like, dude, this is tough because you know it's so much easier to go to work. I go to work. I go to an office setting. You're an adult. You're expected to have emotions and control. You're expected to do these things. There's a checklist to do. Like easy.
Well, and there's a clear chain of authority at your
Correct.
job.
Yes. So I stayed home. I took leave, stayed with the girls. It was great, but it was those moments where I'm like, how did she do this? I couldn't get from there to here on time, and I give her sometimes a hard time for that. Like, oh, you're late to this. Oh, and then I'm doing it. I'm like, oh, I get it. This,
Now I know why she's
yep,
late.
this doesn't make any sense. I questioned so many things, dude. When I stayed home, I was like, maybe we shouldn't do this thing and this and this. My wife's like, no, you back off, just go back to work. It's fine. Um, but I
I
definitely
got this.
questioned a lot of things, right? But it has
Yeah.
absolutely a patience game because it does take way more patience to get my 5-year-old to do her chore, which is pick up her little side of the room. She picks
Mhm.
things up, makes her bed. The bed is not greatly made, man. It's it's not. There's no maid in
We're not
there
we're, we're not doing hospital corners here.
exactly. Like, but she's making her bed. She puts little toys on there and whatever. She's like, "Come look at
Mm.
my bed." All right, cool. You did your chore. Got it. Right. And so, but it takes so long, and then
Mhm.
it takes longer. I'm doing something over here, and she wants me to come see it, and I'm like, "No,
Mhm.
you're good. I trust you. No, come see it." So then I go over there, and I think, okay, let's take a minute, come back to my thing, because again, as you mentioned, we're always in a hurry. Go in
Mhm.
there, And now she's telling me about every single toy that she put on the bed, and why she put that specific toy in the bed. And so now that's where I start really to like dig deep, and I'm like, all right, this is her time with me right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if I blow up, or if I walk away, or I dismiss, I lost that moment, and then
Mm-hmm.
she won't want to do that again. But insides, I'm like wanting to crawl out. I'm like, I just need to go do 20,000 things, man.
Yeah.
But it is a patience game that I think my wife does like a pro, and I
Mm-hmm.
am constantly. It's a battle in my head to keep patience for those kind of things that my wife
Mm-hmm.
does just so well. So,
Well, so it's interesting. The frame that's made more and more sense to me as I've talked to more and more parent coaches and dads
mm,
and just my patients is the idea of the masculine and the feminine in parenting.
mm-hmm,
And what's funny is I know plenty of people where the masculine role is being held by the woman if it's a heterosexual couple, right?
mm,
Like this doesn't need to be entirely gendered, but the maternal role is nurturing,
mm,
is that patience, that person that will sit there with the kid and be like, no, I'm in your world right now. What are we
yep,
doing, kid? Like I'm here. The masculine role is how do we get you ready for the world?
yes,
Right. So it's that combination of, hey, be safe and hey, show me how high you can climb.
yep,
And what's the best parents you see kind of flow between the roles depending on the task and
mm,
the lane that they're in. Right. Like a dad might be a lot more be safe in a relationship, where a mom is much more like, how are you navigating your
right, yeah,
relationships?
yeah,
And then a mom with sports will be much more likely to be like, hey, like this is a dangerous sport. And then I'll be like, yeah, show me how hard you can hit them.
right,
And I think the best partnerships, you kind of go back and forth between these things. But the beauty of acknowledging that, hey, your wife is more patient here.
mm-hmm.
I imagine there are times where you're more patient teaching your kids than your wife is.
I am. Yeah, there's times where she's kind of losing it, and I'm like, it's cool. Like, I got it. We're good, right? And we
Yeah.
try to work. I think. Well, I have to assume that at 22 years, we figured a little bit of that out. Where I can, she's tagging me out without physically tagging me out. I'm just, it's okay. This is my cue. I gotta go, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah,
Um,
you've got 2 decades to know the cues, right? You're like those seals moving in a room. It's whoever's
yeah,
leading's leading. It's
there's
fine.
definitely cues. But it's funny you say that. The other day, well, my youngest just started kindergarten. Bro, the first day was like magic. Like, she was, oh, I want to go to school. She got on the bus. I mean, all the things. Second time she went, breakdown. And just getting her on the bus. And to your point, we swapped roles. We swapped roles right in that moment, because it got to the point where I'm like, maybe we should just drive her to school. But the whole point is to get her on the bus. Normally, I would be taking her from my wife and be like, get on the bus. You're going. And this time I was like, maybe we shouldn't. My wife literally grabbed her. She's like, here you go.
Nope.
And went on. And we walked away from the bus, and we saw her in the window, and she was no longer crying, but she was like, like mad dogging
Mad.
us
Yeah, yeah,
through the
yeah.
window as she drives by. And I look at my wife. I'm like, thanks for doing that. I think I broke. I think I was like, I was just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
make it easy. And realistically, to your point again, had I done that, it would have been harder. It would have been harder to walk her
Mm-hmm.
into class. She's seen us in the class. Like, you see what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I've now seen many times where my wife and I kind of swap roles, or we we
Yeah.
we use waves of it, where it's like, all right, I need to
Mm-hmm.
be the masculine dude, right? And I do, and I enjoy that, and I like that role of mine. But I've also seen the other side, and it's it's very nice to be able to have that give and take.
I think that, I was looking at the questions and you had written about what fathers need to do for their daughters to be that masculine presence. And I think this leads into that very well, because essentially what kids need is to see complete parents.
Mm,
And for so long, we divvied up things so firmly, like this is what a dad does, this is what a mom does, and this is who you go to each for.
right.
And what we showed was an incomplete person.
Mm,
Like I think, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, but I think a lot about my grandfather, my father. Men in my family really like kids, but my grandfather and father didn't have opportunities to be like parents as much as they would have liked to have. And it robs us of those moments.
right.
Like every dad with a daughter wants to be the one who gets to be soft, right?
Yeah.
Like most dads, like they've got their daughter and they want to like give her a little bit more than mom does
Yeah.
sometimes,
Oh yeah.
right? And I think by accepting that complexity of you and bringing it to your kid and looking at the people that are helping you raise your kid
Mm.
to brace when those moments happen. In this instance, it was your wife getting the kid on the bus. Like,
Yeah.
hey, look, I see you. Nope, we're not. Puppy dog eyes are not going to
Right.
work. Get her on the bus. We're not doing this tomorrow. We need people around us to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we fall into that rigidity because we're just holding it together.
Yep. And I'll throw her some more flowers because she literally walked inside and started crying. And that's not like
Mm-hmm.
right because that's her baby. That's the last baby we have, and
Mm-hmm.
she's told me that many times before she went to school. It's like this is the last one. I'm like, it is. But
Yeah.
again, just to show the strength that she has that we need as a couple to be able to like, all right, no, you go on the bus and then come home and just break down because her baby's gone. No, and I really appreciate that answer because it really affirms in a way what we're trying to do with with my podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is modeling what we want our daughters to see in men, modeling what we want our daughters to know masculinity as. Because I can't agree with you any more than this. Like, it's caught, not taught. People have said that
Mm-hmm.
many times. It's what they're seeing. There's not. I can tell them till I'm blue in the face how they should go choose another partner, a man, and then if I'm doing the complete opposite, it doesn't matter. In fact, it might make it worse. And to know that we're looking at men being present in their lives and then emulating what they hope is good and fair and masculine in another man, but showing that through not just with them specifically, but through their relationship with their
Mm-hmm.
wife. Like, I think that's huge, and that's part of that mindfulness that we talked about, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
mindful about how they're seeing you, what they're seeing you do, and what they're hearing you say. It needs to be congruent, otherwise, it is going to be a problem.
Well, it's not just going to be a problem. It hurts the kids.
Mm,
Children are simple, and we as a species make the most fragile children
right.
of almost any species. Like look at almost any other mammal and they come out walking,
Fact. Yeah.
right? Ours are just big bobbly brains that are still trying to develop.
Right.
Children need simple answers. And so what I see all the time with adults in practice is every parent's going to make mistakes, right? Kids are going to latch onto something.
Yeah.
And what happens is the minute that a kid doesn't feel like their world is safe, it's usually because their parents, caregivers, or whoever's in charge of them
Mm,
does something incongruent.
mm,
Their words don't line up with what they say. Their actions don't line up with what the world is doing. And sometimes that can be pretty profoundly clear. And sometimes kids just find something,
right.
right? And so what happens then is they need to make a straight line story that makes the world safe for them again. They need to make an excuse for the parent either not being the
Right.
parent they
Yeah.
need them to be, or they need a reason why parents don't need to be that. And that's all of a sudden when all our little quirks and foibles pop up. That's
Mm,
why some people are perfectionists, right? Hey, if I just do the right things, my parents show up.
mm,
That's why we get some people that are fiercely independent. Hey, I shouldn't need anybody. Like I'm 5, I shouldn't need anybody. I should be able to make my own breakfast. And the tragedy of it is no matter how good of a parent you are, people are going to find their thing. But the worse parent you are, the more things they find. And that's when people really start to struggle, is when these stories get layered. And that's what we're talking about, that you show, you don't teach, right? Like you be there with them, you do the best you can,
right.
but you also, when you fail, when you aren't in congruence with what you want to be in the world,
Hmm.
acknowledge that with your kid. Hey, I wasn't who I wanted to be there. Here's what I'm going to do to get better.
Right.
I'm so sorry. Which is something that our parents, like, I don't know about yours, my parents never apologized as a child, right?
No.
That was against their authority.
Yeah.
That was thought of as destructive to children at the time. And it's important when I say these things that to remind everybody that doesn't mean our parents were bad.
Yeah. Right.
It was how it was at that time.
Right.
right? My dad spanked me. He hated every minute of it. The reason he spanked me was because for his generation, if you didn't spank your kid, you didn't love them.
Right.
It means you didn't have boundaries, right? So these ideas that we have around accountability, I think where we just didn't dial it in right for a little while, is parents had no accountability when we were kids, right? And then for a little while, children had no accountability. Like it was all parents like knocking everything down, making it all about like, hey, I'm going to provide you everything. You don't have to worry about anything. I got you. I'm so sorry I didn't get you here. That's my fault.
Yeah.
Where now, hopefully, we're getting more into the like just being accountable to each other.
Yep.
Your kid needs to make her bed. You need to, when you have the space, to go and like celebrate
Right.
that with her. And sometimes you're not going to be able to, and she still needs to be able to do the thing.
Right.
And that's okay too.
And one thing I've learned with that specific thing is when they don't do it,
Mm-hmm.
we take it as the playbook that we've been given, at least I'll say Oscar's playbook, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is a disrespect. And that's when we start getting into the emotional control issue, the yelling, the screaming, what have you. And it's been a extreme change for me to say they didn't do it because they're trying to disrespect me. They just didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And trust me, this is literally a daily battle in my own head, right?
I would imagine.
But but to it feels really good when I don't get upset and I just
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, listen, you had a chore. You know that everything in life has a consequence. There's a good consequence for good things. There's a bad consequence for bad things. Everything has a consequence. You didn't do your chore. You have 5 minutes to get your chore done. If you don't want to, that's fine. You're going to end up doing it anyway, but there's a consequence attached to it. So either way, you're going to do it. Just
Mm-hmm.
understand that there's a consequence attached to it, right? And that could be anything from with my 13-year-old is real easy. Like that phone will go away. Right? I don't need you to have that phone. So easy peasy, right? And that's a big no no. That's her connection to the world. But
Mm-hmm.
just little things like that, right? And it's crazy when I can not get upset and just almost have it be a matter of fact. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't do your stuff. Here's a consequence. Go ahead and do it now, because now you still have to do it, but there's a consequence, and it goes so much better, right? Because my daughter still doesn't like it.
Well, that's a key point, right? I think the hardest thing is it can't be about punishment,
Right.
because punishment is about the person who's been hurt's anger being resolved,
Right.
not about the action and the consequence. And so you don't, what's interesting is it's easier if you don't get upset, but it doesn't mean that you can't get upset.
Right.
It just has to be, the consequence has to be consistent regardless of whether you're
Regardless.
upset or not.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of guys get stuck. They want to be like that stoic
Mm-hmm.
parent where like, hey, like this is just the way of the world. I'm teaching you the way of the world. This is the consequence.
Right.
It's okay for you to get a little pissed at her for not doing it,
Yeah.
just as long as that's not the reason why the consequence is occurring.
Right.
And you can even tell her, this, like, I'm really upset that you didn't get this done right now.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm holding that, and that's not going to change the consequence. Like, you didn't do this. You don't do it in the next 5 minutes, you lose your phone. This
Right.
isn't because I'm angry, but I am. Like, you feel that. I'm upset at you right now because I know you can do better.
Right. There's a difference between saying you made me upset and I'm
Mm-hmm.
upset.
Yep, 100%.
Right.
It upsets me when.
Right. Yeah. And that's something that I've shifted in the last few years, where it's like I'm upset. I'm letting you know that, but it's not you, right? Because one thing I try to teach the girls is you're in charge of your emotions. Bottom line, that
Mm-hmm.
they're yours. If you give them to someone, that you lost that, right?
Yeah.
But what hypocrisy would it be if I'm like, you made me upset, like because of you, like it's and
Yeah.
I'm very clear. I'm upset right now. I don't want to talk to you. Go over there and finish your chore, whatever. But I've really shifted to not saying you did this to me.
And that's an important distinction. I think the trick there, though, is you can acknowledge that what they've done has upset you,
Right.
right? And you can say, I'm upset because this happened and I know you can do better. The trick with it is, on the other end of it, is the repair.
Right.
Hey, you did it. I'm really glad you did. It's making it a lot easier for me to like to not be upset about this anymore. Thank you. I'm glad we're here again. And so I think where we kind of, it's hard to dial in, man, because we as guys don't have models for this. We really don't.
No.
But the way that it's supposed to work is that you are responsible for what you do with your emotions, right? Like
Right.
how they
Yeah.
drive you, the actions you take,
Right.
that's on you. The emotions you have are absolutely influenced by the people around you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to choose who you spend your time around,
Yeah.
to understand what you're responding with based on who's around, and not handing children responsibility to manage your emotions.
Yeah.
But part of how we teach kids about this is that it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be upset at someone for something. And then how to resolve it. What to do with that being upset. Hey, speak a boundary.
Right.
If you're upset, it's because somebody crossed a boundary. Speak your boundary and keep the people around you that'll respect and repair those boundaries with you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's tricky because for guys like us, particularly military guys, right? Like we want the stoicism,
Yeah.
right? We want the bearing. I always like how the military frames it, right?
Yeah.
Bearing, right? You can feel whatever you want, but this is what you look like.
Right.
This is what you do.
Absolutely.
And bearing is important in a combat situation.
Yeah.
It is not what kids need.
Right.
Kids need expressed emotion with appropriate action because they need to see it.
That's so true. And it brings me to that question I wanted to ask. It's talking about that whole be a man thing, right? Like we've heard this all our lives. I think I am an advocate for the fact that it doesn't mean the exact same thing it meant back then, but it still means something, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
when we're looking at that question is how do you define current healthy masculinity today, right? And what are those misconceptions dads might hold about what it means to quote unquote be a man, especially
Yeah.
in front of their daughters?
So I think it's to acknowledge the human underneath the man. I think for so long we looked at men like you had to be John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, right? That's a man.
Yeah.
That's what a man does, and that's all a man is. A colleague of mine framed it best, and I quote him almost every time this comes up. Our job as clinicians is to teach guys that they don't have to hold it together all the time, but they have to hold it together most of the time.
Okay.
And that's what kids need to see. That's what girls need to see from their fathers. They need to see, like, when the chips are down, dad's there and dad's going to take the hit. And they need to see what happens when dad's out of his armor. And so however masculinity lives in you, express it. Find ways that your masculinity comes out in those like really important ways. Like you and I probably share a little bit of that protector role. Like a man is the guy who's protecting the home. And it feels good to be the guy that, like, if something goes down, you take the hit. And so that's important to me. Not every guy is. Some guys, that's not
Right.
where they live. Like if you're an accountant married to a female police officer, that's probably not
Right.
how that's going down in your house. Right.
Absolutely.
But maybe it's the risk taking. Maybe like you're the accountant, but you get on the weekends and you go paragliding or whatever the hell. Right.
Right.
And you're the one that's teaching your kids, like, all right, let's go have some fun. Let's put on the helmet, but then let's go nuts.
Right.
Let's go hit it hard. Maybe it's you're the guy in the relationship and you're the one that's more sexual than your partner, right? Kids can see that in appropriate ways, right? There's nothing wrong with a kid seeing that a parent wants the other parent in an appropriate, romantic, connected way. There's nothing wrong with a kid seeing, like, oh, the man's being the pursuer for these things a little bit, right? That's healthy because they're going to model in their future relationships off of that. And maybe like one of your kids is going to be the pursuer, right? Maybe that's a little bit more their flair or whatever, but they're going to learn how to do it from you.
Yeah.
Both the giving and the receiving.
Makes sense.
And then the last kind of trait that we know that's just across cultures is status driven, right? Men tend to be status driven. So for you, right, you're status driven. You're the guy that kept his career. Your wife stayed at home. They need to be able to see that in you. They need to see like when you get pinned on, when you get the medal,
Right.
when you get those professional achievements and why dad wasn't home. They need to see the community rally around that.
Right.
But let's say that you're not status driven. That's okay. As long as one of you is.
Right.
As long as they're seeing some kind of connection. So the way to be a man in a household, unfortunately, is complex and individual.
Yeah.
Like we have ways our society sees these things. And that's important. Cultural is important. We go crazy by culture.
Yeah.
Right? So be who you are. Lean into the masculinity that you bring. And then do it in healthy, connected, and expressive ways. Let them see it, and let them see it be effective and appropriate. And when it's not one that you have, but you're like, men do this, but this isn't what dad does.
Right.
That's okay as long as you point it out a little bit. Like, hey, that's how that dad does it. It's okay that he does it that way.
Yeah.
But here, like, I don't know how to shoot. Your mom goes to the range every day. Who's taking on the home intruder?
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's not me, kid.
Right.
I got you at the door. Mom's got the gun. It's fine.
Right. Yeah. No. And to take that role, as you said, like take it as yours. There's a skit, I think, or I don't know what they call it, the comedians, but this bit that Chris Rock had mentioned that really just stuck with me for a long time. And for a long time, I didn't really know how to feel about it,
Mm-hmm.
other than it felt just very true. And the bit says that women, children, and dogs are the only ones that get unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
Man has to prove that he deserves that. And
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, so I'm sure it's much better said for in his
Yeah.
bit.
He's a professional speaker.
Right.
It's probably, yeah, he does it
Uh,
good.
for a while, I was like, that's so true. Like, I've probably grown up that way. Like, I've seen this, like, where I need to provide value. I need to do something in order to prove my worth, if you will. At first, I think it was like, that's kind of BS. Like, that sucks. And then other times, I'm like, that's kind of true. I've gotten to the point, maybe call my old age, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's definitely a sense of service for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sure, I serve in the military, and I can tell you right now, I didn't join right away for service. I was like, oh, there's school and there's other stuff, and whatever.
But 18 years later, it's important,
Right,
Dan.
exactly. But yeah, service is important, and as a Christian man, I know that I need to be here to serve and do these things. I'm almost okay with that comment that Chris Rock says, in a way,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to
I think
say,
it's true.
yeah, I
It's
need
largely
to
true.
provide value to my daughters. I need to provide value to my wife and to my household. And then I need to provide value to the world. Like, what am I doing here if I don't
I,
provide
th-
some type of value?
I think so my colleagues would disagree with this, right? Most therapists push towards this idea that we're all lovable unconditionally.
Mm,
And I disagree almost entirely. I think the only people that should be expected to give unconditional love are parents to children.
mm,
And that is foundational. Kids need to have
of course.
somebody that they know that no matter what they do, no matter where life goes, that they are loved and cherished by somebody.
Mm,
And the most pain points I see is when parents don't express that to kids.
mm,
Right? Like you can make all the mistakes you want as a parent, as long as your kid knows that you love them no matter what, that person's got something to build on. That's a pillar of their life.
right.
Outside of that relationship though, no, absolutely not.
Right.
I think the key to a strong personality, somebody who's going to feel secure in the world and someone who's going to feel lovable in the world, is by knowing that you're capable of doing the things that you want to be of service for. And that at some point, if your way to serve changes, you'll find a new way. So a lot of guys I see, like we talk about veteran suicide, right?
Hmm.
How we have a really high rate. What isn't really talked about very often is that a significant portion of those suicides are vets over 75.
Oh, wow.
And it's because we're much less likely to take being disabled well.
Right.
And we have higher rates of Parkinson's, we have higher rates of MS. We tend to get disabled, right, from all the stress and all the different things that we go through as veterans, even just a 5-year service member,
Right.
much less somebody who's done 20. The trick there is these guys don't know how to make the turn to be of service in a different way.
Mm,
And that's when moving from labor to wisdom can come in, right? We used to have a lot of traditions around like what it meant to be elderly in a community and
mm,
how to be useful as an elderly person. There is a beauty in accepting that manhood is earned and can be lost as long as you have the confidence to know that you're capable of earning it, and you generally are.
right.
It doesn't mean that you've got to be a perfect man. It doesn't mean you have to be of service all the time, 24/7. It means that you are building a life in which the way you serve matters and touches the people and things that are important to you. So that way, on the times when you screw it up, your whole personhood isn't on risk.
That's a great point, and it really brings to light that yes, we should be capable. That's such a I've always loved that word, is capable, right? That's what I hope to do for my daughters, right? Make them capable
Hmm.
to do the things that they need to do. But then also, here's hoping that what we're doing, the service that I'm providing, hopefully through the podcast, is also making other men capable. Because I can tell
Yeah.
you right now, some of the information, and not just for my podcast, but just in the realm that I'm in now, right? As a father and putting information out in the world, I could definitely use that, in
Oh
2012 when
man.
my daughter was coming in. Like, and to be
Hmm.
fair, I wasn't searching for it. I just figured I'll figure it out, right?
Yeah. I'm a pretty competent
Yeah,
guy.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it may have been a game changer, maybe not, but to have the option there would have been really good, and to just make myself more capable of being a father would have been ideal, really.
This has come up a few times too, but I love what changes at 40 for most people,
Right.
and it certainly was been true for me. Where the goal is no longer to not make mistakes; it's to make new ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yes,
So if you had some of this at 2012, yeah, man, you'd have made a whole different set of mistakes. It'd been great.
that's true. Yeah. And I'm become very, very comfortable with confrontation and mistakes. That's something that
Yeah.
it's fine. My daughters
Hmm.
and I talk about mistakes on a daily basis. Hey, how did you
Yeah.
fail today? Where did you struggle today? And then if they
Hmm.
say nowhere, I'm like, all right, we'll find something today, right? Because it builds
Yeah.
character, it builds capability, and it builds confidence.
One of those, I was just then like, what'd you miss, kid?
Yeah,
Like, where
right.
did you,
Yeah, where
come
were
on, you
you?
missed something there. Like, great, let's celebrate those victories and like,
Right.
let's look at the world a little bit.
When I don't do it to my
I
5-year-old so much yet, right? Because she's doing
No,
this thing.
she's
But my
fine.
oldest, I'm like, so did you try anything today? When she says nothing, I'm like, did you try anything new today? No, I didn't. Like, all right, well,
Mhm.
that's your goal for tomorrow. Like, you got to try something.
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't matter if
Yeah.
you fail at it or whatever, you'll be fine. You know?
The way that another dad put it that I really liked is like, oh, so today was a consolidation day.
Mm, right.
Solid, solid. You felt good in what you know how to do. Good. So that means tomorrow
Right.
you'll be ready to do the next thing.
Right.
Or if depending on how much they're tracking it, it's mostly for athletics. I see it come up really well,
Right.
where like they go to a practice and they didn't learn a new thing, and
Mm,
they're like, oh, but last week you were really struggling with that, and you got it. That's awesome. Let's
right.
celebrate
Yeah, that's
that.
good.
Cool.
That's
All right. Now what's the now that you got that?
right.
What's the next bit?
And that's where I think some fathers may think of sports as like, well, they're not that good, so we won't continue. But I think that's where we get a lot of that. Maybe
Yeah.
they don't pay attention too much during the day, but if your kid is doing some physical activity, they're gonna fail at some point, and you get an opportunity to do
Yeah.
something better.
Well, and we do children's sports so badly
Yeah,
now. I just had an interview with a student of mine he's a former D2 athlete that's a child social worker. Like he's a unicorn.
interesting.
And he's a huge black guy. So like out here in Denver, man, like there's one of him as far as I can
That's
tell.
interesting.
But what we were talking about with athletics is everybody treats childhood athletics like every kid's Tom Brady.
Mm. Oh, they're
Tom
gonna be.
Brady's had a pretty Tom Brady's had a pretty miserable
Yeah,
life. Like, don't get me wrong, it was worth it for him. He made his
right.
achievements, and I think we can learn a lot from watching exceptional people do exceptional things. I don't want to degrade that. I'm not trashing him for the life he's chosen.
Yeah,
Most of us can't choose that life and won't,
right.
and that's fine too. Sports, when we were kids, you played everything.
Yep.
Now, if your kid's into soccer, they're expected to play soccer all year round. And what we're seeing is we're seeing sport burnout early.
Mm.
We're seeing repetitive injuries happen in high school instead of college.
Right.
And we're losing the joy of sport.
Mm.
Like only 2% of people who play sports end up going some kind of professional. For the rest of us, it was a way to learn how to be on a team, how to fail and get better,
Right.
and how to be in our body.
Yep.
That's enough, right? That's enough to want to be in a beer league later for softball when you're in your 40s, right?
Right. Reliving
It's a
the
good
old glory
time.
days.
Or finding new ways to fail
Yeah,
forward,
there you
right?
go.
Like, oh, I got to hit the ball harder because I ain't running as fast.
Yeah,
Let's go.
that's right. New problem solutions. That's good. No,
Right.
you're absolutely right, and I think I even had that mindset where it's like, well, if we put them in sport, are they really that good? And it's at this point, it's like, no, let's put you in something. In fact, they all have to do something. I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
care what you want to choose volleyball, go play volleyball. I don't care. The trick here is once you choose it, because you have to choose
You finish
something.
that season.
You're gonna go the entire time. You're not gonna quit in the middle. It's gonna get
Yeah.
hard. Like you're gonna finish it. If you truly didn't like it, at the end of the season, we'll pick another. That's fine.
But now I want to like make that transition a little bit and get to that personal questions for you,
Okay,
if you're feeling ready for
let's
it.
do it.
So I think these are important because we talked a little bit about how the uniqueness of masculinity
Mm,
is where we find power in our expression of it. And as fathers, it's important for you to understand yours a little bit better. And I think these stories that we're getting from guys are going to help guys figure out the different ways that their masculinity is in their life and how
mm.
they can bring it forward. So I've really enjoyed getting these answers. So the first question is going to be, what is a rule about masculinity that you learned before you were 12 that remains true today?
I think it's literally be a man. I don't. I mean, I was raised in a Spanish household, so um,
Some pretty clear directives on what that means.
very. You're gonna work, and if you work, you always provide to the house. Like this was, I started working probably around 12. I just odd jobs, picking weeds. I did chicken pens for a while, and or chicken coops, I think is what they call them.
So that provider role within your
Yeah,
family was really,
absolutely.
really
And
important.
my father, when we came here, he man, he's been working his butt off forever and ever. But he just made it very clear, like we're the providers. I'm the oldest, so he would
Oh
have
yeah, you were host.
yeah, he would have that conversation with me. He's like, hey, if and when I go, like you're providing here, right? And obviously now I have a family. It's slightly different, but when I was in our home, that's what it was. So and it was I'd come home and I'd be super frustrated from whatever work I was doing because, like I said, it was normally manual labor of some sort.
Yeah.
And
Well,
he'd
it's what
be,
kids can do.
yeah, and then he'd be like, "Yeah, don't complain. There's no complaining here." I'm like, "Oh, all
Hmm.
right." So, and that's again, if I had to say anything, it'd be like, just be a man. This is what it is. This is what you're doing. Probably before I was 12, for sure.
So that I think it's always interesting finding that balance of the provider role,
Mm,
right? Because we tend to trash on it because it costs us so much to do just that. But it's also important for a lot of guys. They won't feel like a man unless they're doing the providing, and they need to figure out a way to do that. I think where we can learn how to do it a little bit better than our fathers did is it's okay that it's hard. It's okay that it's seen to be hard. And it's good to endure that, but it needs to be witnessed. I think where our dads got really beaten up is the expectation was that you suffered in silence
yep.
and that it was just expected and there was no thank you. And I think that's the miss, right? Yeah, be a provider. If being a provider is important to your masculinity, absolutely do that.
Yeah.
And do it with a smile on your face, right? You're achieving something
Right.
in doing it. But it's also okay to say, like, my hands hurt,
Mm,
that this sucked today, and I'm doing it anyway.
yeah.
I think that's for me anyway, when I hear, because my dad was very similar and so was my grandfather,
Hmm.
like you put your head down and you work.
Right.
And I think that's important to do,
I think so too.
right? But it's also okay for you to accept the care of the people in your life for
Right.
it. It's also okay for you to like say that, hey, I know I'm hurting right now, and I know that I'm not as present as I want to be for you. But I had to do that to do this,
Right.
and let the kids see it,
Right. Right.
and let them feel that sacrifice that you've made for them.
And I think probably a little bit of that too is I don't want to say redefining, but maybe defining what providing is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because yes, absolutely, I want to provide for my family if it's money, food, and home. Absolutely, I do. But if I couldn't do that, let's just say I was handicapped and or just
Something
couldn't I
happened.
couldn't work, right? Then what does providing mean then? And I'm not going to sit here and tell you what that means because it can mean something different for everybody else. But for me, if I had to just think right now, if I could not do what I do, then I would say providing is doing the things I do with my daughters outside of work. That's providing. I'm providing them a value of something from their father,
Yeah.
whether it's here in the home, whether it's in their activities that they do, figuring out what that is, right? Am I
Yeah.
still providing? Absolutely. Like I will figure out how to provide something. And again, it's easier said than done because just to what you just said, my providing mindset came from you will go out, you will work hard, put your head down, will not complain, and bring home the bacon because that's what you're supposed to do. And although I still firmly believe that I need to do that, I also know that at some point, and maybe because of our profession, or
Mm,
my current profession, where it
yeah.
becomes too real, where it's like I may not be here, or I could get injured, or you know what I mean. So
Hmm.
it's really thinking for us dudes, like, what does providing mean? Does it have to mean just the one thing? Because that's where people get into trouble. Because now you
Yeah,
can't do that
exactly.
one thing,
And everything's
and you're
hosed. It's really
useless,
brittle.
right?
Yeah.
And so providing, what does that really mean? What does your family need for you at that very moment? That's
Hmm.
providing.
The provider role is ensuring that your family has food, shelter, and security,
Mm,
whatever that looks like. And for most of us, it's going to be I go to work, I get the health insurance, I get the money,
right.
I bring it home, then we get the things we need. But that fundamentally shifts depending on what's going on in someone's life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've worked with disabled vets who are 100% disability. Providing's still important to them,
Mm-hmm.
but part of how they get that then is I navigate the systems to make sure that we have what we need. I make sure we live within our means.
Right.
I manage things so that we have what we need, even though my labor isn't necessarily getting it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
My sacrifice has made it so that we've gotten it. For guys that work dangerous work, being a provider in part is having life insurance
Right. It's true.
that makes sure, like, hey, if I'm gone and my wife has to hold all this down without me, she won't need to worry about money.
Right.
And I know that's handled. So, like, and then I convince them to do the same thing for her because I'm like, oh, yeah, because that'd go great for you if it was just you, right?
Right.
Maybe you're going to have to step back from making the money.
Right.
None of them like that idea, but it's a thing.
Right. Yeah.
So I love that. I love the validation and the beauty of what your father gave you on the strength and tenacity it takes to be a provider.
Mm.
But I love how it's being tempered over time with I don't want to be as brittle as that. I want to be in the role for as long as my life will let me
Mm-hmm.
in all the different ways it can exist. I think that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
That's the goal.
Well, so this one's a little bit talking about failing forward, right?
Okay.
Tell us about a time pursuing your masculinity hurt you.
Oh, brother, so many. I was in training. This is just the easiest example. I'm sure there was prior to that. I mean, if you think about us being boys growing up, and I mean that's your full masculinity. You're like, oh yeah, if you can do that, I can do this, and it's just that. Beyond that, this is a very good example for me.
Mm.
I injured my back and
Oof.
chose to because of the environment I was in. Not, I shouldn't say that. The environment I was in absolutely had a say in what I chose, but it was ultimately my choice. I chose to essentially get a band-aid fix so that I can continue doing the thing I was doing.
Mm.
And I can easily say now may not have been the best idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now after having spinal fusion and having all
Oof.
these different things done because of that, I don't regret doing all that. I am very cautious at regret, and there is regret, I'm sure, in everybody's life. But I try to look at if I had done it different or what have you, and kind of play it out. But to answer the question, that was probably a overly masculine answer to
Mm-hmm.
something that probably shouldn't have happened.
Well, I think that's what we love about sport and the military is that there's a willingness
Mm,
to sacrifice yourself for a mission.
yep.
And that is important. It is necessary and it is a valid way to be. I think the problem becomes, it's particularly for young
Mm,
guys, and I was certainly guilty of this. Sounds like you were too, of we didn't track whether the juice was worth the
yeah.
squeeze.
Yeah.
This wasn't a state championship where we're blowing out a knee for it.
Right.
This was I kept lifting when I shouldn't,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
This was I didn't do my PT like I was supposed to because a man's supposed to just push through.
Right.
And I think that's the problem is that when young guys see it, they see it in moments of greatness.
Right.
They see that athlete on the field that's a professional athlete pushing through for that last thing to get their team to whatever.
Yeah.
When you're in the military, the assumption is everybody's going to act like the combat veterans that are deployed instead of the guy that's a rear echelon guy in
Right.
Denver. We don't have to do what they need to do in the field. In fact, it's destructive for us to do what they
Right.
do in the field. And yeah, man, I was just as guilty of that. My shoulder got wrecked at
Mm,
19 or 20 because I didn't think anything of it. Right? It hurt. Okay, I guess we just keep doing it.
right.
Yeah. Now I'm got to do all the rubber bands, stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's just, if I'd have just done a little bit of that earlier, I wouldn't be doing it every day
it
now.
would have been gone.
So, last one, we know I always like to go out on the high note for this. Tell us about a time where pursuing masculinity empowered you.
Marrying my wife. Well,
Okay.
even just it wasn't the marriage point. It was I was I was walking back into my house, and that masculine side of me was like, no, you gotta ask her out. You gotta do the thing that the man does, that the boy does. Because I was literally about to open my door and walk inside and not do that, and I think that would have been a grave mistake. And
Mm-hmm.
so my wife and I have been married for just about 22 years, and it's been an an incredibly crazy ride, and just I wouldn't change it for the world. So I'd have to say that the old like mindset of the man opens the door and the man does this and the man I that was me, and I'm 100% grateful for it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those moments in time where people are getting better about that too. I feel like no one's upset at a guy stepping into traditional things for people that want them,
Right.
right? And you and your wife pair very well. She's a military wife, you're a military guy. There's a lot of traditional roles that are happening between you two, but it also sounds like they're, over the years, they've been negotiated well, they've been appreciated well on either end of it,
Yeah.
and that you two have found the balance within each other. And you wouldn't have had that if you weren't the guy that was going to ask her out.
Yeah. And her and I have talked about not necessarily the word masculinity, but my role and her role. We've talked about these things, and yeah, absolutely. I'm the dude that locks the doors. I'm the dude that will clear the house if I hear something at night. And she knows
Mm-hmm.
that she'll stay over here and she'll grab the kids and she'll like that's again. I'm not putting her in that role. It's just where we've fallen, and
That's where
I
and you're
believe that
comfortable.
she appreciates that from me. So
Well, it sounds like you all talk about it. Like, I think that that's the beautiful thing about healthy, long running
yeah,
marriages. It's that occasionally you check in on things.
yeah,
Do you still like this? Do you, like, this is something I do. Is it appreciated? I need to feel appreciated for it because it's costing me something. I'm up at 2 in the
right,
morning clearing the house. Real quick sideline on that. It's really interesting. One of the things that young parents complain about each other is women with babies will wake up to any sound the baby makes
yeah.
and
I've
be
heard of this.
furious because the guy doesn't wake up, right?
Right,
And they're like, how can you sleep through that? However, it's part of its evolutionary. If there's any sound outside of the baby, men with
we're
babies in the house,
yeah,
or
absolutely,
like someone at the window, what happened?
yep,
What? Okay, all right,
yeah,
no, nothing's at the window. And unfortunately, the first is much more valid for the current world we live in, right? We've built a very safe world. Our skill set to
yep.
wake up at a noise is not, it's not as useful as it
That's
once
true.
was.
That's absolutely true.
And, and so the ladies got the short end of the stick there, but you know, it's a thing.
Well, and I think we also, I'm 100% on that because if there, I'll wake up if there's a massive storm and my wife can just sleep right through it. But I've learned, maybe my brain, synapses, what have you. There's a lot of times where I will hear my daughters at night, my little one,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I think she's
Mm-hmm.
gonna throw up, and I'm like, I'll go over there because I heard something, right?
You get that parent, like, you
I
don't
th-
need to know why you know,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just know.
exactly. I think so. And don't get me wrong, I sleep through a lot of the girls' stuff because my wife's like, "You didn't know that she came to our bed." I'm like, "No, I had no clue." But for the most part, I've started to do that because I think, yeah, we've created a safe environment. I know that we live in a relatively safe neighborhood. It still doesn't take away from the fact that if I hear something at 2 in the morning, I'm
You're
up.
the guy that's up.
Yep, I'm up,
Yeah.
and I'm checking.
And your wife is comforted by that.
She sleeps right through it. Absolutely.
And that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I think this is the dream of feminism, is that we get to choose,
Mm,
which means we can choose traditional. And as long as it's choice and everybody's on board and appreciative of what's happening, it's a beautiful thing.
right.
I think we had too many people for too long that it wasn't a choice for anybody.
Right.
Like that guy that had a sheriff wife wanted to be the one getting up and doing the clearing the house. I'm like, that's a bad idea. She should be
Yeah.
the one clearing the
She's
house,
got the
buddy.
training, man. Well, and a lot of
And
that
vice
is our ego,
versa.
right? So, it,
Oh, never.
yeah, that's what I tell people here, I'm like, dude, I'm in a house full of women. I've lost my ego. It's gone. I just got to figure out where I fit in and where I can
Oh,
help.
yeah. I mean, that's why you're making a podcast about telling guys how to be better dads.
Yeah.
And, you're seeing CNCO. There's no ego there at all.
Not at all.
What are we talking about, man?
I'm asking for help, brother. That's all I'm doing.
Hey, man, I'm here for it.
Yep.
Well, man, I've really enjoyed this. I think I know my listeners are going to be pretty happy with it, and you bringing your expertise as a dad. Hopefully, yours are going to enjoy this as well, man. This has been really fun.
Yeah, this has been great. I think your experience literally in the field of masculinity and how this affects us as men is just key, right? Because the biggest thing that I can bring to anybody on the podcast or give anybody by coming onto a podcast is perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't give you all the perspective. I can give you my perspective. And if I have you on the podcast, odds are I can pick up something from your perspective. And really that's what we're looking for is those perspectives to give us something to think about, to give us something to strive for, maybe to give us something to avoid. Like,
yeah, I think the best part about doing the podcast is I very clearly value like education. I'm a professor, right? All these things. But I've learned so much from just being with guys on the ground.
Yeah.
In like not a clinical way. In a clinical way, they're coming to me as an expert.
Of course.
I'm filtering whatever, but these conversations I think that's the beauty of the space we're in, is that all of a sudden, if we bring both of these things together, we learn new things.
Absolutely.
And it's been absolutely wonderful.
Yes, sir. Same here. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed that episode. If you want more of the Daughter Podcast, please go to www.daughterpodcast.com. There, you will be able to find the podcast in all the platforms. You'll also be able to chat with us, send us your thoughts, and shout out a dad that is killing it and someone we can learn from, share their story and why they deserve recognition. And I would love to shout them out during the show in one of our episodes as the season goes on. Additionally, you will be able to find all of our social media information from our Instagram, Facebook, and also our YouTube and any other news on this site. Thank you all for your constant support and for listening and watching the Daughter Podcast.